Okay, so now this is further into the hunt of the submarine, and in the last video I explained to you how the line had snapped on the tip of the rod and the submarine was gone now, but we realized that she was still dragging this 20-liter can around behind her. And you can imagine, I mean, you take 5 big men and ask them to take a 20-liter plastic drum and push it down below the water and see how long they can hold it under the water. Not very long. There's so much resistance pushing up, and that's just the resistance of the buoyancy. Can you imagine the resistance of the buoyancy plus this thing pulling through the water? I mean, the water resistance on this drum was enormous. So the shark was dragging it through the water. So, like I said, it was a calm day. So we're out there, and my dad says, "Okay, guys, eyes wide open. Everybody, eyes peeled. Keep a look around. That drum's going to come up sometime. We don't know when, but it's going to come up." And like I said, the tape had stopped. So now we were searching for this drum, and we didn't know how long we were going to search for. And I would say between half an hour and 45 minutes later, the drum came up to the surface, I don't know, maybe 600 meters from us. If there was any chop on the water or the weather, there was any wind, we would never have seen it. But it came up as a little black spot, more than half a kilometer from us, I would say, or plus minus half a kilometer. And we saw it. And my dad started powering us towards the drum, and all excitement was there again, because now we had gone for more than half an hour without seeing anything. I think close to 45 minutes. And the idea now was we had fashioned an idea. My dad said, we're going to make a lasso. So he took a rope and he made a lasso, and the idea was to get up to the drum when it hit the surface, and then actually place the rope over the drum, right over the drum, and then lasso it. So there's the drum floating, okay, and you've got the cable and you've got the shark. So put the rope over here and lasso the cable, and then we had the shark, we would have the submarine attached to us by a rope and not by a fishing line. So the drum comes up and we speed over to the drum, and my dad's at the controls and he's got the lasso right there. And I see that the tape recorder has stopped, so I'm fiddling with the tape recorder, and I take the tape out, I flip it over, I put it back into the tape recorder, and I push record, and now it's recording again. And as we approach the drum, my father slows down and the boat settles in the water, and we start idling up towards the drum. And I'd say we were probably about 6 or 7 meters from the drum, and the drum just went, gone again, disappeared. And the submarine was vanished. And then we're like, oh fuck, okay. So now it was eyes peeled again. But this time she had the drum down for, I'd say, maybe 20 minutes. And it popped up a few hundred meters from us again, 300, 400 meters from us. And we sped over to it, and when we got close to it, it was gone. But this time she had it under the water for less time, maybe 15 minutes. So this animal was obviously tiring out. She was becoming exhausted. She was in pain. She was in panic. She was fighting this terrible resistance. She didn't know what was going on. She was fighting for her life. And I'm telling the story now, and I just want to mention that I am an avid marine conservationist. But I mean, I was a kid in these years, and in those days, nobody cared. Nobody cared about great white sharks. They were man-eaters. But they're not man-eaters. They also eat women and children. But, they were just considered public enemy number one. I mean, and the submarine had been hooked and hunted by a number of people over the years. So eventually the drum's back on the surface, and we get to the drum, and we idle right up to it. And eventually the drum is actually banging against the hull of the boat. My father puts the engines into neutral, and he takes the lasso and he puts it over the drum, and he makes sure that it sinks below the drum, and then he pulls that lasso tight. So now the drum has got a lasso around, basically around its neck. Imagine my head's the drum, the lasso's here. And the boat's just idling, and the drum is still moving because the shark is cruising along slowly, resting, trying to get his breath back. And my father feeds out the rope, and he feeds the rope out, and he feeds the rope out, and he feeds the rope out like that. And I would say he fed out about 30 meters of rope, and then he cleated the rope, and the rope pulled tight, and we could feel the boat lurch, not lurch, but list to the side, and she started pulling the boat slowly, very slowly through the water. But you could feel through that rope the power that was underneath the surface of the ocean there, the power of this animal. And she dragged us slowly. So now, not only did she have the drum, which was still on the surface, but was starting to bob below the surface because she was, because here's the boat, there's the line, there's the drum, there's the shark. So the drum is starting to bob below the surface a bit, and she starts picking up momentum, and she's dragging the boat faster through the water. But the boat's a massive, massive resistance to this animal. And then it stops. It stops. The boat stops. The drum stops moving. Everything stops. And next thing, the drum starts moving towards the boat. And it starts moving faster and faster. And I remember looking down into the water. Looking down, and I could see her coming up. And she was, here's the boat. And the shark is coming up like this. The submarine is coming up straight to the boat. And we didn't know what to do. And she's picking up speed. And she's accelerating towards the boat. Because in her mind, at this point, she must have realized that the boat was the menace in her life, was the attacker. She's the king of the ocean. She's the super predator. And suddenly there was this other thing that she didn't know, which was being the predator on her, and it didn't compute. So it was probably kind of a mainframe overload for the submarine. But she comes up and she's going for the boat. But for some reason, she doesn't smash into the boat. She dives below the boat, and her body bumps the boat, and she goes under. We can actually feel her bump the hull of the boat. And then the drum hits the side of the boat, and we can hear it going dunk, 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 as it goes under the boat, across the, the channels, whatever you want to call them, on the bottom of the boat. And the drum pops out on that side of the boat now, and she just keeps going. So at this point, my father is thinking, if this 4 or 5 ton shark just keeps accelerating in that direction, there's a chance, because now the rope is under the boat, that she could actually capsize the boat, because the boat only weighs about a ton. So she weighs 4 or 5 times the mass of the boat. And my father hits the throttles to try and spin the boat around, because she would be able to drag the boat sideways like that, but she wouldn't be able to flip it. And he hits the throttles, which is the right thing to do, to try and spin the boat around. But what she does at the same time, the submarine turns, and she comes back at the boat. Now she's coming back at the boat. My father's trying to spin the boat around. She goes under the boat again, and now you got the drum on the one side of the boat. You got the submarine appearing on the other side of the boat. So the drum on the port side, the submarine appearing on the starboard side, and the cable in between, and the engine propellers pick up that cable, and the engines are going wow, and they just jam up, and they just wrap themselves up in this cable. And there's only about 2 meters of cable, like an umbilical cord, connected between the submarine and the boat now, or the engines. And she just goes, and the one engine just gets ripped, and the boat lurches to the side. I remember falling onto the gunnel. I think all of us lost our footing. Maybe not my father, because he was at the controls, but the boat just gets smashed to the side. And now we are attached completely to the submarine. So my dad hits the what do you call it? Now she's still going, and the boat's been dragged to the water. So my dad hits the trims, and the engines go, and they're coming up out the water like that. And he goes to the back of the boat, and I'm standing next to him, and it's just a tangle of winch cable between the 2 propellers. And there's a submarine 2 meters away, attached to the boat with a hook. She's trying to get away, but she can't because the hook is in her jaw. And we would love to get away, but we can't because everything's tangled up, and you can't get your hands in there. The shark's there, the ocean's there, everything's a mess, a complete mess. So my dad trims the motors down again, and we're kind of confused what to do. So she stops. She just actually stops because this poor animal is probably so exhausted by now. She kind of just stops in the water, and so everything goes calm, and Devin starts panicking, and Devin's like, Uncle Theo, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. I want to go home. Let's go home. And my dad's, Devin, we can't go home, my boy. We got a problem here. We got to sort this problem out. We can't go home. And Trevor's, what are we gonna do? And my dad's, I don't know what we're gonna do. And anyway, so we got no tools. We can't cut the cable. The cable's winch cable. It's not like we got bolt cutters to cut the cable or anything like that. So we basically fucked. Okay? The shark is in a shit situation. We're in a shit situation. The whole situation is a cluster, you know what. And she lays there still in the water, and we are befuddled, we are confused. And she lays there for like 2 minutes or something. And suddenly she decides, I'm gonna kill what's trying to kill me. And the boat is what she sees. And the boat is what's trying to kill her. And she decides to kill that boat. And I take the camera. This is the weird thing. I take the camera and I start taking pictures of the submarine. For some reason, I had the sense. I don't know why. I can't explain why. I'm a 12 or 13, just about a 13-year-old kid, and I'm taking pictures of the submarine. And I remember her just opening that maw, that cavern of a jaw of hers, and she came up and she smashed into the boat. And she's as wide as the back of the boat. The boat's 1.8 meters wide. She's as wide as that boat, and she smashes into that boat, and she bites into it, and she comes up again, and the ocean's just been shred to pieces behind her as her tail goes up and down and smacks the surface, and she's pushing the boat this way and she's pushing it that way, and she comes in, she grabs the one outboard engine, and you can hear her teeth, and you can see the blood on her jaws and in her mouth, and you can hear the teeth snapping and breaking and scratching into the metal, and she twists that motor off its mountings. She almost rips the motor off the back of the boat, the outboard motor off the back of the boat. And I don't know how long it went on for, a minute, 2 minutes, an eternity it felt like. And what is it, 13:30 minutes. Okay, give me a second, just wait for the next video and I'll tell you what happened next, because it's going to take me another 8-9 minutes to give you the rest of the video, so stick around there. I'm getting all excited and sweaty here just talking about it. So next one's coming up now.